Nothing puts the fear of God in a Foster's fan like a barrel-aged Imperial Stout. I've seen so many people recoil at the idea of a 10% beer, as if wine never really existed. So today I'm looking at the minor miracle of the barrel-aged beer. Not only how it's made, but how it's both the origin and the pinnacle of beer today, and why it's well worth the ABV. Brewing good beer is a science, but brewing great beer is an art. In no brewing process is that more true than barrel-aged beers. From the moment Sumerians discovered off-grade made as giddy and drunk, humans have been trying to control that chaotic, sometimes violent process of fermentation. But when it comes to barrel aging, we concede to nature. Brewdog is one of the most technologically advanced craft brewers in the world, but their barrel aging room is like stepping back in time, where the two most important skills are trust and patience, as John of Brewdog and founder Martin Dickey explain.
This cask in here is maybe just one individual cask that has this one individual beer in, and it'll be amazing, but you'll never be able to recreate that on a large scale.
Yeah.
Because you're giving up so much to chance and so much to just what each individual barrel tastes like. So.
Is there anything you can do to influence how a beer is going to respond when it goes in? Are you caring for it on a day-to-day basis like a child?
I think the biggest thing you can do is pay attention to the casks that you're getting. So if you make sure you get casks in pristine condition, then it's the biggest hurdle. So something like a bourbon aged imperial stout is a safe option. We know the casks are going to be pretty fresh. We know how the beer is going to react with the wood. Whereas some of the other ones we've done, like a imperial saison in a white wine cask, or an imperial black saison in a red wine cask, where you're not dealing with spirit in the wood, you're dealing with wine in the wood, or port in the wood, something that isn't quite so alcoholic. And there's a little more chance of things being in there other than the spirits.
Yeah.
You get some bacteria.
They're not sort of sanitised, yeah.
So why is it so hard to predict? First we need to explain what's happening in the cask, because the barrels actually breathe. During the day they heat up and expand a little, making gaps that fill with beer. When the barrel cools down, the beer is pushed back out, imbued with everything already in the wood. Barrels have naturally occurring chemicals like vanillin, which tastes exactly as it sounds, or they can be imbued with flavours from the production of other drinks, from tequila to white wine. Barrels can also get infected with bacteria like lactobacillus, which turns the beer sour like a lambic, or a yeast like Brettanomyces, which gives it a funky farmyard bite. Working out how a beer will react in a cask is impossible. Every barrel is unique, and even the weather has as much say as the brewer. But with access to so many flavours, brewers can create beers at the furthest reaches of their imagination, starting with the barrel's flavours and working backwards. Ryan Witter-Merrithew, head brewer at Siren Craft Brew, explains this over a third of his sherry-aged raspberry, cocoa and vanilla porter. How f***ing craft is that?
So when we got the sherry barrels in and we smelled them and tasted, because there's a little bit left in the bottom of it, we got like really strong notes of a lot of like really raisiny, burnt raisins, masticated fruit, little leathery, things like that. Very, strong wine character as well. So we put the beer in there, and I think the beer was in the barrel for about 6 or 7 months, and then we tasted it again, and then we started thinking of ways that we could play with it. And we've released a few different versions, one just the PX, one with this, which is the raspberry chocolate vanilla, one with lapsang tea, all playing on different notes that we found in the beer.
As Ryan hints, there are other ways of using barrel aging to get new flavours into the beer. Just as the lambic brewers add fruit to make creeks and framboise, modern craft brewers are doing the same, though it doesn't always go to plan.
Yeah, and some other finishes we've had where we've added fresh fruit into the casks as well. I remember the first one we did in Fraserburgh was hardcore with strawberries, and after probably 6 weeks we went to try to sample it, and at that time we weren't using these kind of soft corks that you can put in and out. It was a solid wooden bung that was smashed into the whiskey cask, and then take the little ka-dunk to get the thing out, and you like, and then it blows up, and then all you have is a fountain of strawberry hardcore hitting the ceiling.
End up with brewers dancing around in the rain.
Sadly, not all beers end in strawberry rain, and not all barrel-aged beers end there either. Unless it's a single cask beer, many are blended to get the best characteristics across all the barrels. And because hop aromas and flavours fade with time, barrel-aged pales and IPAs often need a bit of final work before being bottled.
What happens to hops in a barrel? Because obviously people say drink hoppy beers fresh, but you're aging it for 9 months or
I
whatever.
think it would depend on the type of barrel you're putting it into. You could put like an IPA in a bourbon barrel and have it out in 3 weeks, and you have a pretty strong bourbon flavor to it. And I've had a lot of like bourbon IPAs that I quite like. They tend to be on the maltier side to help balance out the boozy heat, but I quite like them. We usually do, for some of our beers, we do a dry hopping post barrel aging. So we have like undercurrent and wine barrels with Brett and stuff, and then when we take it out, we dry hop it. And we had some knacking in one of the barrels, and when we take it out, we dry hop it afterwards, just to try to refresh that hop flavor that it lost during aging.
I think it seems that barrel aging is like another step in a recipe. Like some of your bottles are so long-winded, it's like a recipe written out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of the things you have to keep in mind when you're designing the beer as well. Like, you always have to be conscious of the fact that when you put the beer in the barrel, if it's a spirit barrel, it's going to thin the beer out some because it's picking up a little bit of alcohol, and just that flavor of the alcoholic heat in your mouth can thin the palate a little bit. So you might need to make the beer a little bit heftier to deal with that.
So barrel aging is another way that craft brewers are showing how versatile beer is. It's a case of, you can do that, so can we. And when brewers get it right, barrel aging leads to some of the most intense, intricate and artistic drinks in the world. Brewers take a huge risk in making them, but if it has to be poured away, you learn something. Craft beer is about taking risks and pushing boundaries. And if that means sampling casks every morning at 7 AM, so be it.